So, first of all, I have nothing but respect for Judge Rose. He's a tremendous judge. I think he gave everything consideration. He did what he thought was right. We're a little disappointed that with the sentence, but it is what it is, and Mr. Kollie will go and serve his time.
You said a lot of people that face these charges sometimes don't even get prosecuted.
Right. So 2017, General Accounting Office did a report. Almost 13,000 people were investigated by the ATF and across the country, and only about 12 of them were ever prosecuted by the U.S. Attorney's Office. And of those 12, only a few of them were just with that one charge. Most of these charges are a secondary or even a third charge with a much more serious charge as the lead charge.
So do you think the publicity basically of what happened in the Oregon District is what led to your client's 32 months?
So I don't know if it's publicity. I think that the idea here is that this was an unbelievably tragic event. We've got a community that was just torn apart, and something that you don't expect to happen in your own community. And, Mr. Kollie got swept up in this. Everybody's here, everybody's interested, but the reality of it is he hadn't had any communications with the shooter for over a month before this happened. He didn't have any contact with the guy. He wasn't involved with the planning, he wasn't involved in any of it. And so, he's taken responsibility for what he did, which was he wasn't truthful on the form, and yet he is somehow being brought into this as he is involved. But it really couldn't be farther from the truth.
Is this punishment too harsh then?
Well, here's the thing. The judge is following the federal sentencing guidelines, and he does this in all of these cases, and this is what the guidelines suggest. The more important question, perhaps, is when the United States Attorney says, look, this is more than this. These are serious charges. Well, they are serious charges, but the question then is, if they are so serious, why don't the U.S. Attorney's Office across the country prosecute just those? And the statistics from 2017 indicate that they aren't. So they aren't considering them as serious, and here they do. So is the question because now they're taking a stand on it, or is because there's something else? I'd suggest there's something else.
Considering that, are you going to look for an appeal?
No. Look, from the very beginning, from the morning that the investigators came to Mr. Kollie's residence, he cooperated, and to his detriment, and he provided information. And so what I was trying to express in my pleadings and with the judge is, here we've got a very fluid type of a thing. If reporters are, what's happening, what's going on? Well, investigators are in the same boat. Is there more? Are there other shooters? Are there other people involved? And what does Kollie do? Does he say, nope, I don't want to talk to you, I've got something to hide? No. He says, tell me what I can do to help. And so he cooperates, and he provides information, and he sits down not one time, but multiple times with federal authorities so that they can understand, hey, we've got this now. We've got, this lead, we've closed this out. So there isn't something else here. We feel good about it. Now, do they still investigate him? Do they still take his devices? Do they still dig deep to see, hey, maybe this guy was involved? Absolutely. They're as thorough as you can be. And what they find is, well, there's no other additional charges. So, he cooperated, and he'd do it again because it was that important to him. He's a good person.
You think he was given proper credit for that? Well,
you know what? Here's the thing. So the proper credit is, in his mind, he did the right thing. Who's to judge that? He's judging it. I'm judging it. That's for everybody else to decide whether or not it was proper. The United States, you heard in their comments, they didn't think that it was worthy of any type of pat on the back or anything. Their purpose here was to convict him of these charges, and they did it, and we cooperated with the investigation.
During your comments and during the U.S. Attorney's comments, you both brought up the August 4th incident, and Mr. Kollie didn't touch on that at all. Is there a reason he didn't touch that subject?
You know, we talked about this. Ethan was here because he signed a form, and he lied on that form, and he purchased a firearm. He didn't have to. There's places you don't have to fill out that form. There's a lot of people that have firearms legally that haven't filled that form out. He did, but he did it illegally, and he took responsibility for it. So the idea that he would comment on those types of things when he wasn't involved in it, he wasn't there, he hadn't had contact with the shooter. So for us, it was appropriate for him to take responsibility for the actions, and that's what he did.
Even if his actions led to that tragedy?
I don't know if when you say that his actions led to the tragedy. The shooter ordered a gun, had that gun sent to a gun dealer, and he went and he picked that gun up, and they verified his information at that gun dealer. Okay, so have you heard about the gun dealer? I haven't, but that is where he got the gun. My client didn't provide him that gun. My client didn't do anything as far as purchasing illegal things that he gave to this person. So that gun that was used was purchased by the shooter, verified by other people. He hadn't had any contact with the shooter for a very long time. He didn't know what his state of mind was. Apparently, nobody else did. So the idea that he would be held responsible or involved for this action, the question then would be, well, how about the people that he worked with? How about the people that were close to him? Did they not see that? We're not here to address blame, but when the suggestion is that he was involved with the shooting, he wasn't. He wasn't involved with the shooting.
Was your client ever read his rights before they entered into his house?
Absolutely. So, he was there. He signed, acknowledged his rights. He signed a form, consent to search. He handed over everything voluntarily. He didn't ask for a lawyer. He did all of those things.
Should he have asked for a lawyer? I mean, would he even be here if he asked for a lawyer?
Well, that's interesting. So could he have protected himself from them coming to the conclusion that he was in possession of a gun, and when he had filled that form out improperly? He might have. But that's where he said it and I said it and we maintain it. He wouldn't change anything. Because of the gravity of that situation, for him it was more important to say, hey, look, what can I do to help?
And for that he got charged.
Yeah.
I think they're just looking for someone to blame. Horrific. He's the only one around that you can attach anything to. A scapegoat, so to speak.
You know what? That's a question for them. Their response will probably be he broke the law and we charged him for what he did. I get it. According to the ATF in 2017, so did close to 13,000 other people, and those folks weren't prosecuted.
What did Kollie say after the judge read the sentence? I know you guys as the defense team were a little disappointed by the sentencing, but what was his
reaction?
Yeah.
You know what? He took full responsibility. He knew very well that by entering a plea, he knew what the guideline range was. He knew that it was likely he was going to serve a prison sentence. For being 25 years old, he showed responsibility and he accepts it, and he's going to go do it. So.
Do you know when he plans to report?
So all of that is up to the judge. Will now issue a judgment. That'll go to the Bureau of Prisons. The Bureau of Prisons will then they'll figure out where he's going to go, and that probably won't be determined for some time.
Is there anything the general public can learn from this particular case, in that he was just trying to be helpful and yet he got behind the eight ball?
Look, we all have discretion, right? I can talk with investigators or not talk to investigators. Sometimes there is a higher purpose, right? And I'd suggest that you've got a young man who didn't have any criminal history other than 18 minor misdemeanor, and he chose to do what he did, and he'd do it again. So the general public can take that for what it's worth.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks.